You can smash your social anxiety by playing Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm gonna show you how. You see, I've battled with social anxiety my entire life, until I discovered D&D and its power to eliminate it. I've spent the past few months finding and reading the very best research on how D&D can help people overcome their mental illnesses, and this video is the result of everything I've read on how it can give people the tools they need to deal with their social anxiety, and the literal decades of experience I personally have trying to overcome this mental monster. Welcome creators, I am Holistic Dungeon Master, and I help DMs master their craft. If you're enjoying this content so far, then like the video, crit the subscribe button and notification bell because it really helps out the channel. Now let's get rolling! Let me tell you a story. I was a socially crippled mess. I avoided people and any event like the plague. And when I did have to interact with people that weren't my partner or my very close friends, my brain turned into a thick soup of molasses and jello. Suddenly I didn't know what to say, what I even would say normally. My heart, soul, and guts would be stabbed with the cold, icy dagger of paralyzing fear until I found some silly excuse to extract myself from what my lizard brain classified as a life or death situation. I ruined a lot of friendships and potential friendships this way. And the more it happened, the more I retreated into safety by simply choosing not to engage with people or go to any events. For years, I simply believed that there was something wrong with me, that I was a broken human and that I was the only one who was like this. Everyone else who was experiencing the same thing had the chance to get better, but not me. That's really how I felt for a long time. I was stuck in a vicious cycle, and no matter what I tried, what self-help books I read, I could not get out of it. But then, at the very, very worst of isolation and social avoidance, I finally got the chance to play Dungeons & Dragons. Or, well, I finally had some friends who agreed to play if I ran it. No one else wanted to take up that DM mantle. I was obviously terrified. I had no idea how to be a dungeon master, or how to play different characters, or do voices, or any of the rules, or anything like that. I almost, I'm very glad I didn't, but I almost did what I usually did when faced with this crippling social fear. Avoid the situation. I was so close. I was this close to calling the whole thing off and having just one more little scrap of proof that I was broken and strange, but something made me go through with it. Something made the fear worth facing. D&D looked fun and I always wanted to play it. I used to watch a bunch of Critical Role and I saw how much fun they were having together, and I just wanted to feel something like that so badly. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't be here making these videos for you. I might not even be here at all. I certainly wouldn't feel the excitement for social events and meeting new people that I do now. I wouldn't feel finally free. Because you see, there's something magical about D&D and tabletop RPGs in general. So if you relate to my story and are in that place where you desperately want to understand how D&D can help you smash your social anxiety, then keep watching till the end, because I not only explain exactly how it works and back it up with peer-reviewed papers, but I provide you with a way to fast-track how effective the hobby is at helping you face your fear and take your first steps out of the crippling, paralyzing grip of this mental illness. Just a quick intermission. Down in the description below, you'll find the link to my free archetypal NPC handout. It's also the link to sign up for my weekly newsletter, where I provide a free, personally written encounter prompt that you can use to spark creativity your very next session. You'll also find down there the link to my community Discord server. We're making games happen in there, we're playing other systems, we're getting other DMs to really discuss this game, help each other hone our craft. You wanna meet other people who are passionate about the game? Then jump in there and join the fun. Huge shout out to my Patreon subscribers. You guys are making this content possible. If you'd like to support the channel further, then you'll find a link to that down there too. All right, back to the video. Social anxiety is described in the DSM-5 as persistent, intense fear or anxiety about specific social situations because you believe you may be judged negatively, embarrassed, or humiliated. Avoidance of anxiety-producing social situations or enduring them with intense fear or anxiety. It hurts, it really hurts. Excessive anxiety that's blown massively out of proportion to the situation. Anxiety or stress that interferes with your daily living. And fear or anxiety that is not better explained by a medical condition, medication, or substance abuse. Let's face it, a lot of people who seek refuge in D&D and other TTRPGs suffer from this, like I did. And we all kind of know it, right? People like us, we tend to gravitate toward fantasy and science fiction, nerdy hobbies, movies, all that kind of jazz. But it's proven in this paper that also found that people who were less socially engaged than average were drawn to involvement in this kind of fantasy play. They're talking about role-playing games here. People with social anxiety avoid family events, nights out with friends, parties, festivals, birthdays, etc., etc. They tend to avoid it all. But that's because there's this huge and paralyzing fear response when faced with being tossed into a situation with people they don't know, or worse, people they do know and have no idea what to talk to them about. Talking about those distant relatives, you know, the ones you have to go say hi. Who are these people? What do I say to them? Because of this constant opt-out of social situations, what happens? Their social skills atrophy. This just makes the next interaction even worse and fans the flames of their fear into a blazing inferno. It's a vicious cycle that many never escape from. I almost didn't, until I learned about how to fix it. Really the only way. Voluntary risk exposure. What's that? Sounds scary. Well, that's kind of the point. It's meant to be, but only a little scary. VRE is the conscious and deliberate act of exposing yourself to the risks you fear the most in incremental amounts. That's the most important bit. It's simple and it's elegant, but it's an almost impossible hill to climb when you're at the bottom of that endless vortex of fear and shame. If this resonates with you, please know that I fully see you and understand you. I was there. The good news is that there is a tried and tested way to make it not all just easier and more manageable, but yes, even fun. Can you imagine that? The thing that cripples you most can be fun to face. That's because it's something that's cemented into the very name of the genre. Tabletop role-playing games. And with the recent evolution of the way people play the game, D&D provides it now more than ever. Voluntary risk exposure? Yes, it does sound scary, and it is scary. It is kind of scary, but D&D is fun. Even if interacting and role-playing with other players seems intimidating, first of all, that's kind of the point, and second of all, you're still probably going to have a blast at the table despite this fear. Smashing monsters, listening to everyone's characters get up to mischief, and having conversations with the NPCs and the other PCs. When that's happening around you, it's fun. The main instinct, even though we feel that fear inside, is to get involved. It's the carrot on the stick that will draw you in and make you want to be part of the fun. Family events and work parties are decidedly not fun. Not for most of us. Not for someone with crippling anxiety like you probably do and that I did. There's very little incentive to interact, only fear. But with D&D, that's very different indeed. Let's talk about the science. There's a fantastic paper on the benefits of roleplay, specifically about D&D. In it, the paper here explains that the game helped a young man, serving to free fears and feelings for useful consciousness with enhanced ego development, so as to improve the patient's ability to interact with others and feel comfortable with himself. It's a lot of lingo, right? That's a lot of psychological babble, but essentially what this means is that by placing yourself, just like this young man in the study did, in the shoes of another character entirely, it can make it easier to interact with others. That's the enhanced ego development, right? It reduces the fear and risk if we do or say something stupid. It wasn't us, it was the character we're role-playing as. It adds a crucial risk buffer and just removes a major barrier for someone who struggles to interact. Because of this, they may be able to take the first of many small steps of voluntary risk exposure, just as described in the paper I just mentioned. Play could be used as a repetition/compulsion to re-experience events that overwhelm the ego, and thus to master them. The fact that D&D is a game acts as a kind of safety net. This isn't real life now, this is play. Another excellent paper describes exactly how. A tabletop game provides an emotional buffer between the player and his or her past experience of trauma, and allows the player to participate in reenactments with the company of others and in an organized way. In effect, these strict rules provide safety, giving the patients an opportunity to explore their mental dungeons and slay their psychic dragons. How good is that line? So good. So good. But that's not the only tool D&D has in its social anxiety smashing kit. Another paper found that it's those in-game moments, like planning a big bad evil guy's downfall, improvising the next move together when the plan inevitably falls to pieces, triumphing over adversity, sharing those small wins and losses with other people can be the catalyst that sparks friendship and a support network even outside of the game, is this paper here. Of course, I recommend caution when choosing your D&D group. After all, you don't want your support network made up of people that aren't very, well, supportive. Choose your group and your friends wisely. And when you do, you will not only have fun making these small steps, interacting with your new friends, you will also start to build up those atrophied social skills in this safe environment. After all, much of what is advantageous in addressing a lack of social skills is simply the increased opportunity to connect with others provided affected by these games. I know from personal experience that the concept of finding and making new friends can seem like a completely hopeless endeavor based on our past experiences, right? But D&D can help you make long-lasting and intimate friendships. Just check out this study here that shows up to 75% of game players report having good friends within their gaming communities. But okay, hopefully by now I've been convincing enough that you're kind of starting to feel a little faint glimmer of hope, a chink of light shining down into the deep dark abyss that is this mental illness. You're thinking to yourself, maybe I'm gonna give this a shot. But hold on a sec, because before you do, there's something you should know. Something that can massively help speed up this process. Something that can help you take slightly bigger steps of voluntary risk exposure. Slightly bigger steps that will compound into mind-blowing progress over time. Doesn't that sound good? Doesn't that sound nice? I've given you the hammer with which to smash your social anxiety. Now, I'm going to tell you how to make the hammer bigger. When you start with voluntary risk exposure by playing D&D, it's important to start small. Let's be honest, if you're suffering from mild to severe social anxiety, then your social skills suck. They do. It's okay, we can get better, but let's be honest, they probably do suck. The fear of putting yourself out there and in front of people and role-playing, fear is big. That fear it's a big beast to manage. So your very first character needs to be similar to yourself. If you're quiet and withdrawn and don't engage a lot with others, play a character who's like that too. But play them with the intention of growing that character, to get them to the point where they're able to have meaningful conversations with other PCs about their backstories, dreams, goals, the plot, whatever is happening in game, etc., etc. Use this character who is like you to explore what it would be like to be a slightly more socially active and confident version of you. It's okay. It's not you doing or saying these things, it's your character. That's that crucial buffer. Once you finish up playing that character, maybe you finished a campaign or they die, and after finding out that 99 times out of 100, those small social risks you took usually ends up positive rather than negative from the people that you're playing with. Now it's time to take the next step. Make the hammer bigger by creating a character who's even more outgoing than the last one ended up. Look, you don't have to play the smooth talking, outgoing and popular bard right now, but perhaps the next character is a fighter who still doesn't talk much but engages a lot more with the party and doesn't draw away from their social situations. They've got an arc too, just like the last character, but this time figure out what are your social skills that you want to improve and make that finish line the goal of this character's arc. You want to get them from there to there. If you do this again and again and again, you will just have built up this massive amount of proof that it's okay to take social risks that end up being, well, positive most of the time. That's what confidence is. It's proof that we've done it before. Those small wins that compound into, well, self-belief and self-esteem. The beautiful thing is that these skills, they translate into real life because yes, we're playing, we're imagining, we're role-playing, but you're literally in the room or speaking over voice chat with real people, interacting with them. We're building that atrophied muscle until you are ripped. Socially ripped. Not only that, and that's good enough by itself, but not only that, you will have now have a small and tight-knit group of friends. You're probably meeting up every week to have fun, some of whom will become good friends outside of the game too. It happens all the time in D&D. And finally, after struggling for so long, after languishing in the pits of despair, after being trapped by that vortex of loneliness and frustration, you will have broken the cycle. In fact, you'll have reversed it. You will be free. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really hope this video has inspired you to take that first step to combating this crippling mental illness. If you found it useful, or if you have any experience with D&D helping with this, then please write it down in the comments. Share your story with others so that they have the confidence to try this too. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it, share it with someone else who is struggling with social anxiety. Crit the subscribe button and notification bell. And remember, this world needs good D&D.